This week on the Roth Guy, Jude, let's talk a little bit about the planning process, from first conversations to the long-term planning, the GPS system, right? The 5 pillars, the things that you guys do to help your clients and potential clients. So I thought it'd be a good episode to just kind of, touch on the experience, if you will. How you doing this week, my friend?
Man, I'm doing awesome. It's my birthday month, and I celebrate the whole month. So
Oh,
this
okay.
is good times for me.
So you're the one that got my daughter on that because she does the same thing. She's like, it's my whole birthday month. And I'm like, wait a minute. It used to be like a day. Then it became a week for her. Then it turned into a month. So I'm going to blame you on that.
There you go.
Well, let's talk about the experience a little bit. And by the way, happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
You look great for 29. So.
Hey, a little gray hair here and there.
Well, let's talk about what makes your guys' approach a little bit different from the typical advisory experience. As I mentioned, like GPS, that's your guys' planning, kind of profile, if you will. So just kind of walk us through a few things.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we've done here, and I've been in this industry now, I can't believe I'm about to say it, 27 years.
So you started when you were 2, if you're 29.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I was a prodigy.
Yeah.
And over that time period, we've been able to see many different situations. Some clients that have very similar situations, some clients that have different. And we decided, it's time to put together a proprietary financial planning process that we can best serve our clients. And we call it GPS, Guidance, Planning, and Solutions. And it breaks down into 5 basic pillars. You've got risk management, you've got investments, you've got income planning, taxation, and legacy planning. Each one of those pillars holds up the holistic financial plan, and they're kind of like a gear shift. They fit together and they need to work together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? You got to have a cohesive strategy where everything is kind of, bouncing and working off each other. And we talk about that all the time. Like in the DIY space, a lot of times people don't realize how many things affect other things because it's easier to accumulate, right, than it is to do the preservation and the distribution. So are we talking about you guys being more planning first then as a firm versus investment first?
It's absolutely planning first. Everybody wants to talk about investments. Investments are sexy,
Right? Yeah.
When you see the return on your money, you can't help but get excited. But realistically, when you're looking at a holistic financial plan, a comprehensive plan, you've got to look at the risk that you do see and the risk that you don't see.
Okay.
And when you combine those two things, you're not necessarily Superman, but you make yourself as bulletproof as possible, because you're not missing areas of your finances that could be crucial to your success.
Yeah, and I think that people so often do put the investment cart before the horse, right? And because again, it is sexy, and you're thinking, well, this is how I'm going to outpace inflation, or this is how I'm, whatever. But it's like you got to have the planning down first. You don't want to lead that the opposite way. And so also, it's not management, but it's a relationship. Really more than it is like a sales thing, right? So I think the other difference with a lot of times is you can go get a broker and they're going to help you with sales and they're going to help you do this, that, and the other. But really, you're talking about long-term relationships as well.
100%. Because what I found through my career, and I've worked at major financial institutions before opening up our own firm, was that we typically focused on one specific area. And it usually broke down into 2 things. Either you were investment focused, working for some of the major brokerage firm, and no shade to them. It's just that their focus was on the investments and how could we put together an investment plan that got you the type of return that you're looking for, or you were insurance focused, and it was mainly about risk. It was what happens if I predecease my spouse.
Gotcha.
How do I create a legacy for my kids? But then they miss all the other important areas. For instance, in risk management, after you've reached a certain level of net worth, I hate to say it, but in our society, you almost become a target. People look at that net worth and say, how could I get a piece of that?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so risk management isn't just about life insurance. It's making sure you're protecting your assets from potential legal threats.
Yeah.
Estate planning, making sure that all of your documentation is in place. God forbid something happens to you, that your wishes get
Hmm.
fulfilled exactly how you would have wanted it if you were still here. I
Right.
mean, financial planning, I love it so much because it's like a jigsaw puzzle, and you're putting all of the pieces together to create this beautiful picture of your financial life and how that matches the life you want to live most successfully.
Yeah, and I think that's, when you're looking at the whole big picture, that's hopefully what people are looking for or realize that they need. So let's back up a bit and let's just talk about, first conversations, right? So somebody comes in, they've heard about you, they've checked out a podcast or a video or whatever, right? They come in for that initial client conversation. And that's the thing. It's a conversation. You just said a minute ago, Jude, you've been doing this over 25 years. I would imagine that if somebody comes in, sits down, gives you their collection of stuff and says, here's what
Yeah.
I got, you probably could make a recommendation pretty quickly because you've just seen enough things to know. But I'm guessing that that's not what you're going to do because, you got to get to know things. You've got to get to know them. It's not just the stuff in the basket, if you will, right? It's who they are.
We kind of break it down into two categories. There's the quantitative data and the qualitative data.
Okay.
And the quantitative data, that's the numbers, and you have to understand the numbers so that you can put together a specific plan of action. But the qualitative is more about your life and your values. One of the things that we say here at the firm is, we want to build a plan around your why. We want to put the why at the center of your wealth. And so you can only do that by getting to know the individual or the couple and what's been their life journey. What are the things that are important to them? What are the things that they're concerned about in their lives?
Yeah.
And if a plan doesn't reflect that, it's really just a bunch of numbers, and you're more than just a bunch of numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, I've seen this scenario 4,700 times already, and I could put you in, product A, B, X, and Y, and it's going to work. But before I do that, let me understand who you are to make sure that these things are going to work, right? And I think that any industry has that, right? People that
Yeah.
have done it for so long, we all can relate. You go to a doctor, and the doctor, says you've got this, and they've probably prescribed that thing 1,000 times, right? But maybe they should dig a little deeper. So I think that's what we're talking about here is that, walking from that first conversation and then kind of moving through the process. So usually it's what, like a two visit process to kind of get an evaluation going.
Absolutely. So the first visit is basically a get to know you meeting, understanding, what are your goals, your dreams, your concerns, and then talking a little bit about the numbers. Where are you at financially, and where do you want to be at? And from there, we go away for a couple of weeks once we've gotten the data, and start to build a rough draft plan for the client. We want to make sure that we're on the same page. So we built something that they could kind of look at like a roadmap, GPS, if you will.
Right.
And so the second meeting, we sit down with the client and go over these things and say, this is the things that we've noticed. And here are some potential solutions. Now, are we on the right track or the wrong track? Is this a basis where we can work together to solve some of these issues for you? And the client has the opportunity to kind of see our work before we roll out the full financial plan to make a
Gotcha, okay.
decision. Is this the type of firm that I want to work with? Are these the things that are important to me and the solutions that make sense? So that's typically how we work. It's usually one or two meetings before someone decides, yeah, this is the place that I want to be.
Okay. So then you roll out into the full onboarding then, right? And that's where you start getting down into the real nitty gritty of things, fine tuning and setting up I guess the expectations, Jude, because I think that's where a lot of places fall flat too, because you'll hear people say all the time, well, I never hear from my person, after I've come on board, I don't hear from them very often. Right. So I think communication clearly is very important in this and setting those
Oh, it's the
expectations.
most important piece.
Yeah, I mean, you and I try to have fun with this, and we try to be, try to, highlight your personality and all those kinds of things. But what you guys do, obviously, is very serious business. You're talking about people's forever money, so you want to set those clear expectations with folks, so they don't feel like, hey, what's going on over there?
100%. And I've heard that complaint from many clients that we've brought on from other institutions that, in the beginning, yeah, I heard from my guy or I heard from my girl, and then afterwards, I never heard from them again. Or, when there was a hot stock or a hot mutual fund, then all of a sudden I get a phone call. And
Yeah,
really, that's not true financial planning. There needs to be an ongoing relationship. And at our firm, that first year is pretty intense because Rome wasn't built in a day. So we're working with a client in the first year to create all the infrastructure that's needed. And then
right.
from there, we're meeting either on a biannual or annual basis to make sure, just like the GPS in your car, when you veer off the wrong way, it says what? Recalculating. And so we have to get you back on the path. Or if we're on the right path, celebrate that we are really making incredible progress. But either
Yeah.
way, it's just so important to keep the communication and to be proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah, and we were talking about this being a relationship thing anyway. So, right, let's just say, hypothetically, a lot of us, when we get to 50 plus, we start getting a little bit more in tuned or awakened to the fact that, okay, I got to get my retirement stuff in gear, right? So you start putting this together, and how you feel or how things are going at 50 or 55 or 60 are probably not going to be the same at 70 or 75 or 80. So over time, again, this relationship, you guys are adapting and pivoting and changing life goals because life's going to life, right? It's going to do its thing.
100%. And oftentimes, and we've talked about this before, most people's lives break down into two phases of their life, of their financial journey. The accumulation phase, where I like to explain, you're going up the mountain,
Right.
and every dollar you save gets you closer and closer to the top of the mountain, and then you've created such a net worth that you can now use your net worth and trade your dollars to buy back your time.
Yeah.
Every day before then, you were trading your time to earn dollars. Now you're using your dollars to buy back your time. And that's when you enter the distribution phase. And you're so right. The concerns shift. In the beginning, it's saving and getting the best possible return with the lowest amount of risk.
Yeah.
But in the distribution phase, it could be more about, how do I make this money last forever? How do I make sure that when I'm not as independent as I used to be, that I have the care where I want it and can afford to pay for it? Or how do I leave a legacy behind? Those are questions that continually need to be adjusted as time passes, as laws change, as investments change. It's a lifelong interactive relationship.
Jude, we talk often. I kind of reference my mom on the podcast because we're in that interesting demographic. So I'm 55, she's 85. We're in this window where, working with financial professionals, and it's like you've got the early part of the spectrum and you've got the later part of the spectrum, and the needs are different, right? Certainly, and it's very evident, right? And the things that stress her now are not the same things that I stress about. They bothered her 30 years ago. So it kind of gives you and those of us who are fortunate enough to still have, a parent or two around, we see them going through these things. And we can hopefully learn from that. But then we're also trying to figure out how to help them as well. So that adds to the whole equation. And, that's something else you guys have to deal with too, is working with folks that maybe are caught in, a lot of us are caught in that sandwich, generation thing where we're helping that elderly person as well as helping, maybe our adult children. And that's part of the planning building process too, because you got to take all that stuff into account.
For sure. Because when I talk to clients and those that are retired, we are looking holistically at everything. And sometimes the questions that I ask, they've never been approached with these type of questions before. Like, for instance, we talk about their adult kids, like in your situation, you've got adult kids, but have they done everything necessary to protect themselves? Because what if something happens to them and now you're responsible for your grandkids? Have they put the things in place so that if something happens, your life doesn't dramatically change?
Yeah.
Or another question that I ask sometimes that startles people in most couples, and tell me if it's this way in your house, it's definitely the way in my house. There's one person that is really into the finances and one person that just really wants to know that everything is going to be okay. It's kind of like, I want to know how the clock is made versus I want to know what time it is.
Right.
And that person who normally is the person who is in charge of the finance, what happens if that person predeceases the other person?
And that's going to be the case, Jude, right?
Yep.
I mean, Murphy's Law is going to be like, yep, boom, right? So.
Yep. And the last thing you want is when you're grieving for your spouse to try to find someone trustworthy that you would feel comfortable with if you were here placing that trust in. Yeah. And so the financial planning, I tell you, it is my passion. It is my joy, because there's so many pieces of the puzzle that you have to bring together. And when you bring it together, some of the things the clients have told me just warm my heart.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And, at the end of the day, Jude, right, every firm, has a lot of access to the same kind of information and the same softwares out there. I mean, even nowadays, a lot of us as DIYers have access to these things. But at the end of the day, it's the experience, it's the relationship, it's the, knowing that someone's got your back. It's the sounding board. The behavioral management is a huge piece of working with a financial professional, so that you've got somebody there to talk you off the ledge, or to support you when, whatever an idea might be, if it's a good idea, if it works well for the plan. So at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And that's why so many financial advisors like yourself, Jude, offer these complimentary consultations and reviews. Find the right one for you, right? Find the one that resonates and works well for you, and that their system makes sense to you. And, you guys have got your GPS, your guidance, planning, and solutions. So if you guys need help, if that sounds good to you, or if you're curious and you want to learn more, reach out to the team. We've got links in the show descriptions down below, and that way you can get yourself some time onto the calendar and try it out for yourself. See if it's a good fit for your financial car, if you will, and have a chat with the team. So, Jude, my friend, thanks for hanging out and talking about your passion.
We love it.
Have yourself a great day, and we will see you next time here on The Roth Guy with Jude Wilson. Again, don't forget to subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and right here on YouTube, and click those links down below. We'll see you next time.
Financial planning and advisory services are offered through Prosperity Capital Advisors, PCA, an SEC-registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in the state of Ohio. Centrus Financial Strategies and PCA are separate, non-affiliated entities. PCA does not provide tax or legal advice. Insurance and tax services offered through Centrus Financial Strategies are not affiliated with PCA. Information received from this podcast should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including but not limited to age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information. For information pertaining to the registration status of PCA, please contact the firm or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Disclosure website, www.advisorinfo.sec.gov. For additional information about PCA, including fees and services, send for our disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from PCA using the contact information herein. Please read the disclosure statement carefully before you invest or send money.